Donald Trump is uniting the world against the United States. They're like just mocking us right now. President Macron of France and Prime Minister Tusk of Poland mocking Donald Trump's handshake and posting about it. Prime Minister Tusk says handshakes with Donalds are usually quite a challenge as they mock Donald Trump's handshake. Also, speaking about mocking the American people's intelligence, the MAGA Republicans, remember that informant that they talked about with all those FBI forms and that they were going to impeach President Biden based on this informant that they used? Well, that informant has now pled guilty to lying to the FBI, lying on all of those forms. In a normal judicial system, that would make the MAGA Republicans who elevated this guy criminal co-conspirators and criminal co-defendants, but we'll break that all down. But yes, they relied on quite literally someone who now admitted to lying and committing felonies with the MAGA Republicans. Well, does it shock you? I mean, right now, MAGA Republicans are refusing to pass disaster relief supplemental spending. That's how they want to stick it to Biden and the Dems, by not passing disaster relief for the hurricanes that have recently caused significant harm to areas on the East Coast. Also, they have not been able to pass a budget, and we're another 7 days away from a government shutdown unless they pass a CR, a continuing resolution, since they've been unable to pass a budget, their most basic job. Also, speaking about doing your most basic job, Donald Trump's now giving all of these interviews like he did this weekend on Meet the Press. He gave one for Time Magazine where he's like, what are you talking about? I never promised that I was going to lower prices. What are you talking about? I can't control the prices. I'm not going to guarantee anything there. I don't think prices have anything to do with my presidency at all. Also, he's still going out and saying that he doesn't have a health care plan, but wants to repeal Obamacare, but he's got concepts of a plan. And we should just contrast that with President Biden, who not only had plans, actual plans, not concept plans, but those plans delivered for the American people. Think about it. Things like capping prescription drug prices at $2,000 for Medicare patients, negotiating the price of prescription drugs to lower them, making healthcare affordable and accessible, having the government negotiate directly on behalf of Medicare. And of course, 16.1 million jobs being created, unemployment at all-time low, GDP growth at all-time highs. America is energy independent for the first time, essentially ever. More oil is being drilled right now than when Trump was in office. Border crossings are down right now under President Biden. They're less than when Trump was in office as well, after Trump and MAGA Republicans destroyed a bipartisan border deal and President Biden had to take measures into his own hands. Let's talk about it all here on the Midas Touch podcast. Brett, welcome. Jordy will maybe join at the end of the episode or not. Jordy's on daddy duty on this episode.
What a good dad. You guys are both such good dads. Great to be here, Midas Mighty. What a week, as always. The news certainly is not slowing down anytime soon. And Ben, as you discuss the things that we're going to talk about on this episode, as you break that down, I can't help but think that those individuals who voted for Donald Trump and a Republican Congress are soon going to learn firsthand what that actually means for themselves. And I think as we've seen this kind of anger that's been out there in the public about certain things over the last few weeks, I don't think we see that folks want less of the government helping them out. I don't think they want less healthcare. I don't think they want less ability to get their prescription drugs. I don't think they want billionaires to get everything. And I think they're soon and quickly finding out that Donald Trump is building this oligarchy around him and that he is making a government that is for the billionaires and by the billionaires. And that is what we're going to see. That's where we're going to see the results. And you already see Trump already backtracking on like every major promise that he made to folks that probably were the promises that helped get him elected. Like, I'm going to bring down prices. How many times have we heard Donald Trump say, and the prices are going to come tumbling down the day I get into office? They're going to come tumbling down. Now he's like, yeah, about that, I'm not so sure. And now Trump, of course, always says we're going to be respected on the global stage. And Ben, I love that we've been keeping track here of all of these world leaders who are actually standing up to Trump. I have to say, in many cases, stronger and more effectively than the leaders that we have here, unfortunately. But it's great to see these world leaders standing up to Trump and openly mocking him now, talking about Donald Trump saying would be respected. We are now back to being the laughingstock on the global stage. And it's a shame, but we're going to break it down. We're going to go through everything that's going on. I'll toss it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, you literally have President Macron of France and Prime Minister Tusk of Poland, and they posted this themselves. And Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland, goes, handshakes with Donalds are unusually quite a challenge. And for those who were just listening on audio, they're mocking Donald Trump's handshake, and they're like laughing, and they're showing camaraderie against each other, and Macron's like just like laughing, and they're mocking us. And they know also that one of the ways you deal with Donald Trump's bullying is by kind of mocking him as well. They know his pathology. They know how easy it is to kind of push his buttons. The whole kind of sequence of events is Donald Trump went to France. President Macron invited him there to be at the opening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Trump shows up. Trump takes a picture with Zelensky while he's there. Macron brings them together. Trump feels embarrassed by that whole situation. Also, Macron shook Donald Trump's hand so strong that bothered Donald Trump as well. Plus the Zelensky photo. Donald Trump thought that he was played. So Donald Trump's been on like a rampage, attacking Ukraine, attacking our allies, mocking everybody, in his own kind of petty, way. I mean, Trump posted, Bidenomics, you pay taxes, I send it to Ukraine. They send it back to Hunter. Hunter gives it to me. Pardon Hunter. How Bidenomics worked, with a photo of President Biden. Like, not only is it all of it false, but like the most idiotic thing. What are you talking about? Send your taxes to Ukraine. It goes back to Hunter. I mean, this is at the same time that Donald Trump's son right now. I mean, by the way, Hunter worked for Burisma, a Ukrainian company, to be a pro-democracy voice on a board to try to shift the company in a democratic direction, which was under Russian control, at the request of a pro-democracy leader of Poland to join that at a time when Biden was never in office, right? I mean, people need to contextualize these things. Biden was not the VP. Biden was not the president. And Biden said that he was not going to run at that time. And then Biden changed his mind and decided to run after Charlottesville and said he thought he needed to be in. But Biden had no intention of ever running again. Hunter Biden previously sat on boards. He's a Yale-educated lawyer, worked at the top law firms. George W. Bush had appointed Hunter to an Amtrak board. And it was a time where there really weren't any conflicts of interest because Joe Biden wasn't the VP and Joe Biden wasn't the president at that time. Wasn't even running at that time. But contrast that to now. Eric Trump is posting, look at the deals we do with Saudi Arabia. We have massive skyscrapers that we're building. Look at the project that we built in Jeddah. Look at the products we did in Saudi Arabia. Look at what we're building here and there. Massive golden skyscrapers with golden toilet bowls, everybody. And then Donald Trump posts, any person or company investing $1 billion or more in the United States will receive fully expedited approvals and permits, including, but in no way limited to, all environmental approvals. Get ready to rock, everybody. And then Elon Musk responds to like a Doge account, which is like an Elon Musk account as well, that he amplifies. This is awesome. No environmental focus anymore. You're going to get cancer. You're going to get toxic diseases. What are you doing? What are you even talking about here? And I just feel sometimes we're shouting from the rooftops, not the golden skyscrapers. of Donald Trump, or shouting from our living rooms here saying, what the hell is going on here? Sorry, but I digress. So Trump goes to France. He felt embarrassed by going to total zigzag there.
Can I just say, can I just like translate that message for a second? The Trump post that you just read there. Trump is essentially saying that you could pollute the environment, you could destroy the United States, you could bypass all of our regulations, you actually get an expedited path to bypass all of our regulations, as long as you invest at least $1 billion or more in the United States. It's quite literally it's the definition of selling out our country to billionaires. It's screwball small business, screw any sort of regular kind of investors. He's going to foreign investors, foreign persons, foreign corporations, and saying, come invest in the United States, and you don't even have to play by the rules as long as you have at least $1 billion or more. This is just the very foundation of the oligarchy that he is creating. And it's no wonder that somebody like Elon Musk is like, oh, this is awesome. This is so cool. Elon Musk, I believe today it was announced that he hit $400 billion in net worth. Just think about that sum of money. And no matter how much you think about that sum of money, it's an unfathomable, obscene amount of money. It's impossible for anyone's brain to truly wrap around just how much that is. But Donald Trump is saying, if you're Elon Musk, if you're Mark Zuckerberg, if you're Jeff Bezos, if you're one of these foreign billionaires in Saudi Arabia, whatever country, we don't care. As long as you have money, you have a voice in my government. Working class, we don't need you. Regular kind of companies, small businesses, we do not need you. That is what Trump is saying with these posts. And they're just being so explicit about it. And when Eric Trump is just flaunting these investments in Saudi Arabia, I mean, you just think now, going back to past presidencies like Jimmy Carter with his peanut farm, you think through the lengths that people had to go to divest from their businesses, no matter how big or small. And this was even an issue back in 2016, right, Ben? People actually tried to they tried to pressure Donald Trump. Didn't work, to divest from his businesses. Remember, Trump made up that he had a plan. I think this is one of the times Trump brought out the fake sheets of paper and says, here's my plan to divest from my businesses. All BS, 100% BS. Well, they're not even no one's even asking him this time around. But why aren't we asking him? Why are we just accepting the fact that he's allowed to be intermingled in all of these foreign business deals that are going to have an impact on the way that he governs? It's just absolutely insane, Ben.
But yeah, so when the fact that they're spiking the football, these billionaires, in our face, right, it makes it even extra worse. And I think ultimately they're exposing themselves with this as well, right? They're not, perhaps you want to call it their Achilles heel, or just no amount of money for them is making them feel the level of importance that they want to feel. They feel that they deserve so much respect for exploiting us all. And people hate them. So they keep posting the images of themselves to try to show us how great they are. Look at my Lamborghinis. Look at my Gulfstream jets. Look at my skyscrapers that I'm building. Look at the deal. I mean, Eric, this wasn't like you're not a savvy, sophisticated businessman. Saudi Arabia is freaking buying your family. They're playing you, okay? MBS bragged that Jared Kushner is in his pocket. They know we'll build the skyscraper. We'll put your family's freaking name on it. We'll get you $100 million, and then we'll get to do whatever we want geopolitically. And you're like, I'm a savvy businessman, while Americans right now are worried. Holy shit. Project 2025. Wait a minute. Trump actually appointed all the Project 2025 people. Wait a minute. The first thing that Congress is talking about now is getting rid of our Social Security, getting rid of our Medicare, getting rid of Medicaid. Wait a minute. Someone like Elon Musk, who's worth $400 billion, created a Doge committee, and he and Vivek Ramaswamy, who's also worth $1 billion, they're on Capitol Hill meeting with Congress members, and they're talking about imposing austerity measures, Trump austerity measures, to inflict economic hardship on we the people. And they're saying we're going to take away veterans' health care, all of these lavish benefits that veterans are getting. The wealthy veterans are out there just sucking up all of this money right now, is what the MAGA Republicans are saying. They're saying nothing is off limits. Social Security isn't off limits. Medicare isn't off limits. And by the way, then Donald Trump's asked basic questions, by Time Magazine. So are you going to lower your price? You're going to get prices down? No guarantees, Donald Trump tells Time Magazine. He was asked a similar question on Meet the Press by Krista Welker. Are you going to lower prices? Or on day one, I can't guarantee you anything. I don't control that. That's outside of my control. It's hard. He goes, it's very hard to take down the price. Just for this, let's read this answer from Time Magazine. You all know I don't show Donald Trump audio or video clips. So let me just read it to you. This is the question from Time Magazine to Donald Trump. If the prices of groceries don't come down, will your presidency be a failure? Answer: I don't think so. Just pause there. Just think about that. I don't think so. That was the whole premise that everybody said why Trump won the election, because he guaranteed, I guarantee you, on day one, the prices are all going to go down. And everyone said, look, despite all of these metrics that show President Biden led one of the, if not the most American history, the fact that he didn't overnight solve inflation caused by Donald Trump mishandling of COVID, Trump's destruction of supply lines, Trump adding $8 trillion of debt, the most in American history, because President Biden couldn't fix all of that until like year 3, when Biden's policies finally started to kick in. People said it didn't matter what the stock market did. It didn't matter unemployment was at record lows. It didn't matter Biden created 16.1 million jobs. It didn't matter the Infrastructure Act, the PACT Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, bringing the semiconductor industry back to the United States, record low crime. None of that mattered, people said, because Biden didn't effectively manage inflation caused by Donald Trump, which Biden managed to do better than any other country in the entire world, by multiples of any country under the entire world. And while Trump's plans, every economist who has any shred of credibility says if you tariff, if you do bloody mass deportations, if you do all of these things, it's going to increase inflation, not decrease. But people say that's why Biden didn't win. That's why Harris ultimately lost. And Trump goes, pull it back up again. Let me read it for everybody.
Could I read one thing before you read this? Let me read this, okay? Before Ben reads what Donald Trump said in this Time Magazine article that was released today, here is what Donald Trump said in September in front of his followers. And he said this at many rallies, many events, many phone calls to Fox News. Here's just one example from September, quote, "Vote Trump and your incomes will soar, your net worth will skyrocket, your energy costs and grocery prices will come tumbling down." With that in mind, Ben?
Pull it up. If the prices of groceries don't come down, will your presidency be a failure? Answer: I don't think so. Look, they got them up. I'd like to bring them down. It's hard to bring things down once they're up. It's very hard, but I think they will. I think that energy is going to bring them down. I think a better supply chain is going to bring them down. The supply chain is still broken. It's broken. You see it? You go out to the docks and you see all these containers. And I own property in California, in Palos Verdes. They're very nice. And I pass the docks. I've been doing it for 20 years. Never seen anything like it. For 17 years, I saw containers, they'd come off and they'd be taken away. Big areas, in that area, where they have the big ships coming in, the port. And I'd see this for years as I was out there inspecting property and things, because they own a lot in California, in addition to just being a completely incoherent answer.
I at least appreciate that they didn't edit it for clarity.
He didn't answer it for clarity.
As he said it, because it's one of those ramblings that it's like nearly impossible to read. But I mean, just a stunning admission right there, right? And you see how he's already trying to sort of get out of the responsibility of the very problems that he is going to cause, and those same issues that he rode to victory. By the way, the same issues that have been improving happening year after year after year. And many of those issues, including especially the supply chains that he was talking about, that were completely devastated by COVID and Donald Trump's handling of COVID. He's once again trying to put that blame on the Biden administration, who actually went in and fixed the problem. I mean, people really seriously, and I know it's a late message, but we said it all throughout the campaign also. People really don't remember what it was like in January 2021. Like, people really are unable to put themselves back in that place. But things were grim, folks. Things were very grim. There was many people dying a day. Everything was completely falling apart. Companies were decimated. People were out of work. Like, things were as bad as it gets when President Biden took office. You remember that First Time magazine? I think back to that, the cover. It was President Biden. It was that desk that was filled with papers and just the White House in utter chaos, such a complete and total mess. And I forgot what the message was, but it was something like his turn to clean up or something to that effect. I'd have to look it up. But that's how the Biden administration began. And then you look at the metrics that we have here, that if you looked at these things on paper, you'd be like, oh, of course that guy would win a second term, or, whoever his successor is, because this is undeniably the best in the world. And could things be better? Of course. But the hole that we had to dig out of, this Trump hole, was absolutely devastating. And Trump managed to ride his own destruction back to the White House. I think it's the irony of this entire thing.
Well, look, Donald Trump's incoming press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, she said today, the press has been telling her off the record, which she clearly doesn't know off the record by saying it on the record. She goes, the press has been telling her off the record how happy they are to get the access back that they always wanted, right? Now they get to report on, Don Jr.'s ex-fiance, Kimberly Guilfoyle, gets kicked to the curb. And now she gets to become the ambassador of Greece. And now he's got Bettina, a socialite girlfriend, and Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka's father-in-law, a convicted felon who set up his own brother-in-law with a prostitute and showed it to his own sister, Charles Kushner. He becomes the ambassador of France. Ooh, and then you have Tiffany's father-in-law becomes the head of Middle East policy. The drama. Oh my God, everybody. Look, we don't want drama. I want stability, normalcy. I want stable leadership right here. I don't want this chaos and craziness. And it's absolutely, utterly ridiculous. By the way, before we go to our first commercial break, Brett, pull up this graphic right here from the stock market if we haven't. Donald Trump rung the bell today, right? So I like that. We covered Donald Trump's face with a clown emoji right here. So just think about it. Trump goes to Wall Street.
You almost wouldn't even know, right? Like it works.
To ring the bell. Time magazine gave him Person of the Year, the biggest propaganda moment for him, right? So you would expect with the biggest propaganda moment, the stock market would go up. At least one of the indexes would go up, right? The Dow closed down 234. The S&P closed down $32, and the NASDAQ closed down $132. And so that was Trump at the stock market today. But, all of this corporate media fetishizing of authoritarianism. Ooh, Barron's a ladies' man at NYU. Ooh, Donald Trump,
I saw that story too.
Powerful handshake. What a power move. He looked like a freaking fool. What human being shakes a freaking hand the way he shook Macron's hand? We look like clowns, and that's why they're mocking him. You know who's in an echo chamber? Our corporate media here. They freaking crave fascism because they're run by their corporate overlords as well, who are part of this oligarchy right here that's trying to exploit we, the people, that's trying to screw you over. But here's the thing, going back to the point I was making earlier, when you start flaunting it like that, when you start going out there, hey, billionaires, you want to dump toxic chemicals on the people? We'll give you whatever. Businesses to run, they need customers. If you're going to kill your customers, piss off your customers, if you're going to screw the people, that needs to be called out. And by the way, our our equivalent of page one here on the Midas Touch Network, is that Donald Trump already breaking his promises, already saying he's not going to lower prices. Donald Trump saying that there's nothing that he can do, he doesn't have a health care plan. All of the lies should be called out powerfully, not just on day one, but right now. We've got a lot more to discuss. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
Midas Touch is brought to you by bookshop.org. You may be watching or listening to our show right now, but are you reading enough? It's time to dive back into books and conquer that reading goal you set for yourself this year with bookshop.org. There are so many great books out right now that help you make sense of this moment. Or maybe you just want to get away from the political noise and unwind with a good novel. Bookshop.org has just the book you're looking for. Bookshop.org is unapologetically anti-Amazon. Why? Because when you purchase from bookshop.org, you're supporting local independent bookstores so they'll be around for all of us to enjoy in the future. They're committed to helping independent bookstores not just survive, but thrive and continue to foster culture, curiosity, and a love of reading in your community. Bookshop.org has raised over $30 million from local bookstores. You can even pick which bookstore you want to support, whether it's your local bookstore or your hometown favorite. Bookshop.org is truly for everyone who loves to read and knows the power of a good book. I just finished reading The Attributes, 25 Hidden Drivers of Optimal Performance by Rich Divini, and I cannot recommend it enough. This is one of Bookshop.org's bestsellers, and after reading through it, I totally understand why. Start feeling good about where you buy books. Use code MIDAS to get 10% off your next order at bookshop.org. That's code MIDAS, MEIDAS, to get 10% off at bookshop.org. All right, let's talk about NAD+. It's in every living cell in your body, and it helps keep you young by repairing damage, detoxifying, and giving you energy. But between age 20 and 50, your NAD+ levels are cut in half. No wonder we start feeling older, more tired, and less vibrant. But here's the good news. Qualia NAD Plus makes it easy to boost your NAD Plus levels by 74%. It's a simple supplement that's vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, and packed with ingredients to help you feel at your peak longer into life. Qualia NAD Plus contains the most powerful NAD Plus precursors like niacin, niacinamide, and Niagen. These ingredients are clinically tested to boost your NAD Plus levels, and Qualia NAD Plus has many other holistic ingredients that support all major aspects of NAD Plus production in your body. Plus, it's doctor formulated, so you know it's the real deal. I've been using Qualia NAD Plus since they sent it to me, and the difference is huge. I actually feel energized, awake, and ready to take on the day. I had no idea how much my low NAD Plus was dragging me down. To boost your NAD Plus levels by up to 74%, go to qualialife.com/Jordy for up to 50% off and use code Jordy at checkout. That's JORDY at checkout for an additional 15% off. That's qualialife.com/Jordy, JORDY, for 15% off your purchase. Thanks to Qualia for sponsoring today's episode.
Thank you to our pro-democracy sponsors right there. They help fund this programming and some great products as well. So the discount code is in the description below. Brett, great ad reads there. They say when it comes to fascism, don't obey in advance. I like to just shorten that and just say, don't obey. But let's face it, when it comes to the corporate oligarchy here in the United States, whether it's billionaires like Jeff Bezos or whether it's billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg, it's not so much obeying as, I think, putting their mask off and revealing who they've always been all along. We learned that Mark Zuckerberg is going to be giving $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration. And we just learned earlier today, before shooting this podcast, that Amazon, that Jeff Bezos, who is so excited about all the deregulation that Donald Trump's going to bring, is also giving $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration. Brett, all of that regulation that's clearly made it so difficult for Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg.
Could I just get serious for a second? I just want to honestly, I know Bezos is going through some hard times. I know Zuckerberg, they've fallen on some hard times.
All that regulation under Biden,
it's just being strangled by the regulation. So just want to send my heart, my thoughts and my prayers to them during these very, very difficult times. I'm so sorry that you've gained hundreds of billions of dollars during this administration. But I maybe wanted more. I don't know. But I know things. I know times are tough. But you'll get through it, guys. You'll get through it. Okay.
Well, look, Brett, as Americans are suffering, as these billionaires are buying up and commoditizing housing, you look at these billionaires who've bought 93,000 homes, 150,000 homes, 300,000 homes, and they buy them up, they decrease the supply to increase the price, make it unaffordable for people to live the American dream, housing in short supply, as people are struggling to afford an education, as, let's face it, prices are high, and voters made their voices very clear, even though it seems that they were completely hoodwinked by Donald Trump and all of the MAGA Republicans. I think the word seems is doing a lot of work there. But Brett, what voters and Midas Mighty are very angry about? One of the biggest threats they worry about, of course, it's the free tax filing service by the IRS. That is a massive threat of government encroachment. So as the MAGA Republicans talk about what are on their top priorities, yes, it's attacking Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans' health benefits. Yeah, don't worry about the fact that these billionaires are amassing massive net worths. MAGA Republicans Adrian Smith and Chuck Edwards, Congress members, they wrote Donald Trump a letter urging him terminate the IRS's new free tax filing service, otherwise known as Direct File, on day one through an executive order. 27 other MAGA Republicans signed on to it. This is after Intuit, the owner of TurboTax, lobbied for the free filing system to be eliminated, viewing it as a threat to their business model. But one of the reasons I want to even talk about this, though, is it's a perfect example of where Democrats came in, addressed a situation by having an IRS commissioner who made government work for the people, right? If you had to call the IRS for figuring things out, for most Americans, they love it. The wait time, no one loves paying taxes, let's face it, but the taxes exist. We live in a system, though, where people have lots of issues with the IRS. So President Biden tried to make it more efficient. The wait times for the IRS are down. They use modern technology to have a free tax filing system to make filing taxes easier and less stressful. But here's what the MAGA Republicans are focused on. And just listen to their language that they use here. Dear President-elect Trump, we write to urge you to take immediate action, including but not limited to a day one executive order, to end the Internal Revenue Service's unauthorized and wasteful direct file pilot program. The program's creation and ongoing expansion pose a threat to taxpayers' freedom from government overreach, and its rollout and structural flaws have already come at a steep price. As you know, during the last tax year, the IRS rolled out its direct file pilot program in 12 states, through which taxpayers file their taxes directly to the IRS instead of through a trusted accountant or reputable third-party preparation service, under the guise of offering a convenient, free-to-file alternative preparation service. The IRS asserts itself as the tax assessor, collector, preparer, and enforcer all in one when the program is used. This is a deeply concerning and clear conflict of interest. And it goes on, and it's very long, about the severe threats. This is government at its worst. Meanwhile, the MAGA Republicans are okay with AR-15s in front of school, right? Meanwhile, the MAGA Republicans are okay taking away your health care. Meanwhile, the MAGA Republicans are refusing right now to pass supplemental disaster relief for the recent hurricanes. It's just another way to stick it to President Biden, right? You don't pass the supplement. They view passing hurricane supplemental relief as being wasteful. The MAGA Republicans have not passed a budget. I just want you to think about the last 3 years. It hasn't been deja vu. It's been real. Remember the MAGA Republicans, since they get into power, they refuse to raise the debt ceiling, and President Biden had to negotiate that, or else we would have been in a Great Depression. Remember the drama? Even though Donald Trump had the debt ceiling raised over, MAGA Republicans refused to do it. Biden had to cut a deal to do something just to keep the country alive. And then what do MAGA Republicans do? What Trump always does: break the deal, don't pass a budget. Then we had to have continuing resolution after continuing resolution. We'd go to the day where we were all about to suffer, and then we'd pass some continuing resolution, and then Republicans would take a continuing resolution and divide it into 5 pieces and do a divided continuing resolution to act like things were happening. But then they would separate the National Defense Authorization Act with another one, and then they'd all be all over the place, and then they wouldn't. And then here we are, Brett. We're we're 10 days away from 9 days away from a new government shutdown. There's been 3 close calls of shutdown. The failure to raise the debt ceiling, not passing supplemental. And here's the thing: not passing disaster supplemental. But here's the thing, Brett. None of this is talked about on news. I'm sure on New York Times page 12 it's on it. I'm sure Washington Post page 8. I'm sure it's never on cable news where they actually give this any. Maybe it's 2% of their coverage. But this stuff, people don't know about what Republicans are doing. So they just feel it's all screwed up. Everything's messed up. And then Republicans exploit that disparity in information.
Yeah, it's so incredibly stressful, because the last thing on the planet I'm going to say is that the Democrats are perfect and that everything they do is great. I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is, at least the majority of the time, they're at least trying to push the country in the right direction, and they are at the whims of the obstruction of the Republicans, who have brilliantly figured out this plan to obstruct, and not only to obstruct, but to use the means of communication to propagandize and to convince people that Democrats are the cause of your problems, to convince people that transgender people are the cause of your problems, to convince you that gay people are the cause of your problems, migrants are the cause of your problems. I could keep going down the list, but they have devised and executed this scheme quite brilliantly. The Republicans, where you have so much of the country, quite frankly, going, oh, Democrats, Republicans, oh, they're all the same. It's just not true. And I understand that, that folks are looking for a bit more radical change right now when it comes to certain things, that people are pissed off that these programs are not working for the American people. And I totally get it. And I totally agree. But you have the Republicans, quite frankly, trying to take us backwards at every step. Do you think, Ben, do you think that these Trump voters, who many of whom are working class, do you think that one of the priorities they wanted Donald Trump to tackle on day one is to remove the IRS's direct file system that made filing taxes easy for them? I can guarantee you that is not something that they were eager about, right? That's not something that they were hoping for with this administration. Do you think they wanted billionaires to get exclusivity to the government, to get extra rights for the government? I just don't think that that's the energy that we're seeing in this country right now. I think people were hoodwinked in many ways into believing that Donald Trump is a guy who's going to help the working class. And I think, as we see day in and day out, Donald Trump doing everything he can to empower these billionaires, and then this billionaire group, this billionaire oligarch group of people like Jeff Bezos, of people like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. You see Bezos and Musk now donating each $1 million to Donald Trump's inaugural fund, just kissing the ring like this, right? And you start seeing what's going. It becomes so obvious, I think, to me, who is kind of in control and who is trying to get special treatment and who wants a seat at the table in this administration. And it has never been more transparent who this administration is for. And I could guarantee you that so many of even these Trump voters, that this is not what they were voting for. They were not voting for the billionaires, but we all knew that this was going to be an administration for the billionaires. Hopefully, as things progress, they will soon find out. They will reach that fine. I know some of them have. I've seen a lot of comments. I've seen a lot of reports on this. But I think a lot more of them are going to start to realize, oh, wait, why is Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and Elon, why are these people making decisions about my life? Wait, they get priority over me while they tell me that I have to cut back. Wait, Elon Musk is getting new grants and new government programs and new government contracts, but I need to cut down on my Social Security payments, and I'm not able to use this free government IRS filing service anymore because Intuit and TurboTax want me to use their service. And so they lobbied their friends in the Trump administration. Like, that doesn't seem super fair. And reality is going to hit. And when it hits, it's going to hit pretty hard.
There's going to be, I think, kind of these key events. You do a tariff war with China, and now all of a sudden the new iPhone doesn't get delivered. And I know it's something so superficial like that, but kind of these are the times, right? like an iPhone will start costing like $10,000 or something like that because the factory in China gets shut down as a retaliatory act for the trade war, or we get a lot of resources from Canada, energy imported from Canada. What happens when they cut that off in retaliation? What happens when you do these bloody mass deportations and there's nobody to work the fields if Trump's going to do that on day one? What about the mere threat of doing workplace raids shuts down the productivity? And when inflation starts creeping up, what about when H5N1 becomes could potentially become a more widespread contagion as RFK Jr. doesn't take the health measures because he believes that raw milk is the greatest thing since raw sliced cheese, or 10-day-old sliced cheese, that's rotten, and then people are getting sick. America is a pressure cooker right now caused by Donald Trump's policies. One of the big mistakes, and I don't want to do the postmortem thing now, though, is that the Kamala Harris campaign was focused so much on turn the page, move forward. Americans were pissed. They wanted somebody to blame. And the people to blame were the Donald Trump Mar-a-Lago billionaires who were doing this to them. And Trump and the billionaires convinced the people by enough numbers. Look, this is not a mandate. Donald Trump won by less than 50% of the popular vote. But he convinced the people that it was the trans people, it was migrants, it was George Soros, it was a deep state cabal, and it wasn't. But now that Trump and these billionaires are spiking the football in our faces, and 500-foot yachts wasn't enough, it's got to be another. And they're doing it in our faces and mocking us. They're creating a situation where their lies are being exposed. And we'll talk more about that. I want to show some of the international response. I want to
Can I do a quick? I just want to do a quick compare though, while we're on the subject of messaging, because the one thing that I will say Trump is good at is he's marketing, right? He's good at getting the message out. He says things very kind of dumbed down and very clearly. And so I'll go back to that the quote that we were speaking about at the beginning of this episode when Trump was speaking about bringing down prices. Now he's admitting that was a total lie, but this was his comment from September. I read it earlier, but he said, "Vote Trump and your income will soar, your net worth will skyrocket, your energy costs and grocery prices will come tumbling down." It's a very direct affirmative statement, right, for people to hear. And so the folks who bought into that were like, oh, that's exactly what I want to hear, right? Now think about, comments from Vice President Kamala Harris, where she couched it in this terminology that would sometimes feel like it came from a marketing firm, like a professional or a PR firm, when she said, "I'm going to create an opportunity economy." Like, people don't really understand what opportunity economy means, but people understand what your income will soar, your net worth will soar, your prices will come down. Like that's something that people understand. And I think Democrats in general need to kind of take that lesson, and they need to be as direct as that. That's why, even we in the past, when we were speaking about, things like the Inflation Reduction Act and all these bills, we said, let's stop calling them by these lofty names and let's just say what the thing is, right? Like Biden's doing right now. Say, I'm going to cap your prescription drug prices at $2,000 a year. I'm going to negotiate with the drug companies. Your drug prices will come down. Your health will go up. Just be very straightforward about it and stop couching it in this political language, because we need to be direct with the people. All right, we got a lot more to talk about, Ben. I know. We'll be right back after this break. Do not go anywhere. See you in a second. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. Hey, I got to be honest with myself, right? It feels like I have to choose between having a great night or a great next day. That is until I found pre-alcohol. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. For example, after a fun night out with friends at like a local bar or wherever we go, I could still get up the next morning and hit the gym. And I'll admit, I was skeptical at first, but I tried it at a dinner party with some friends. The next morning, I felt great, ready to tackle the day, ready to do more videos here at the Midas Touch Network. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was actually like. Now that I've tried it, I get the hype. Plus, with their GMO technology, ZBiotics is continuing to create probiotics that tackle the challenges of modern living. Go to zbiotics.com/Midas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code Midas at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you are unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Midas and use that code Midas. It's MEIDAS at checkout for 15% off.
Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today and get $50 off instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide you even more value for your lineup. Think James Cook will get more than 60 yards next week? Joe Burrow passes for more than 1.5 touchdowns? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at the football board and selecting Saquon Barkley for more than 1 touchdown. Download the app today and use code Midas to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code Midas to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
If you were born after 1970, I think there's a very good chance that your first razor was a multi-blade razor. These razors have been the status quo for over half a century, but where has that gotten us? According to a recent study, 2/3 of men expect some irritation when they shave. They expect to be injured when they shave. It makes no sense. Over 2 billion plastic razors enter the landfill each year in the U.S. alone. The razor blade model leads to high operating costs, and it's just not working. So here's where Henson Shaving comes in to change the game. They've changed the shaving industry, and I love them. It's not through gimmicks like subscriptions or moisturizing strips, but it's through groundbreaking research on the impact that shaving has on your skin. Because the dirty secret about the razor industry is that even the cheapest dollar store disposable razor will likely give you a reasonably smooth shave. The trick, though, is removing the hair without any negative outcomes to your skin. For example, the irritation, razor burn, ingrown hairs, razor bumps, etc. So that's where Henson focuses on it. Focuses on changing the paradigm away from getting a smooth shave to getting a skin-friendly shave. The Henson razor works with standard dual-edged blades that cost less than 10 cents each. Once you own a Henson razor, it's only about $3 to $5 per year to replace the blades. The razor itself is made of aluminum and there's no plastic. There's also no plastic in the Henson packaging, which I like. And the Henson razor, it gives me and it'll give you the best possible shave with incredible precision. I'm personally a huge fan of theirs, and I know you will too. So do me a favor, say no to subscriptions, say yes to a razor that will last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/Jordy. You heard that right, /Jordy, to pick the razor for you and use code Jordy, Jordy, to get a free shave cream with your razor. Just make sure to add it to your cart. That's a free Henson shave cream when you head to hensonshaving.com/Jordy and use the code Jordy. Thank you, Henson Shaving. And again, hensonshaving.com/Jordy, Jordy, and use that code Jordy. Thank you to those pro-democracy sponsors that make this show possible. And thank you to all the Midas Mighty, especially in addition to everyone. We just appreciate when you share these videos, subscribing. That's enough. Just share these videos. It was great to see the patrons when we did our Patreon Zoom meeting earlier this week. So if you'd like to join that, we'll do one. Try to do one more before Christmas. We just got to figure out, we're doing a lot of traveling. But join patreon.com/Midas Touch, patreon.com/Midas Touch. It was great seeing everybody on our
Something I want to add too, our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, every single day during the week is doing these breakdowns, these recaps of the day on our MidasPlus.com. That's our Substack. And you should check him out. He releases them around, sometimes like around 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Pacific time each day. And it's like you could not watch the news all day and then read Ron's recaps and you'll be all caught up. And me, as somebody who is a news junkie and is tuned in to everything throughout the entire day, even I, reading Ron's recaps, I'm always finding new nuggets of information that I haven't seen before. I mean, he really sees it all. And I've read hundreds of these kind of newsletter recaps in my day. I got to say, Ron's is easily, by far and away, the best, easy read, easy to digest. You can check it out. It's at MidasPlus.com. Posts every day in the evening. Go check it out.
Look, our coverage of the Canadian House of Commons is getting a lot of attention right now. That sentence in and of itself, perhaps in other times, we'd be like, really? Your coverage of the House of Commons in Canada?
Canadian Parliament talking about us.
Look, I think it is, first off, we have a lot of Canadian followers, and we love our Canadian followers. We love our international followers, but I know how big our Canadian followers are. And I think it is important to show how Donald Trump's bullying of Canada, one of our closest allies, is having the impact that it is. And so we covered, for example, a member of the NDP, the New Democratic Party, which is right now, I think, like the third biggest party in the parliament right now. I mean, the Liberal Party is under Prime Minister Trudeau is leading. The official opposition parties, the Conservative Party, and then the NDP joined up with the Liberal Party there to form the government that now is in control and which has blocked the no confidence votes that the Conservatives have brought to the floor. Let me show you. This is NDP Member of Parliament Charlie Angus. He gave a speech. I'll show a small portion of it, but you could watch the full speech that I showcased. And by the way, I'm going to have Charlie Angus on the show an interview for the weekend. But let's play this.
So yes, they are our neighbors, but we have stood up to them. We're in a different situation with Donald Trump, a convicted predator who's seriously undermining the democratic process in the United States, and he thinks he can just push us around. Exactly. He insults us. Yep. You know, the Conservatives seem to like it because he's insulting our Prime Minister, but he's not really insulting the Prime Minister. He's insulting Canadians, calling us the 51st state.
That's right, exactly.
You know, once there was a Canada that had a flag that didn't need to be waved, a flag that represented who we are. We didn't boast about it.
Okay, so that's from an NDP member in Parliament. Let me show you kind of separately a premier from Ontario, Doug Ford. Now, Doug Ford is someone who back in 2016 said his support of Donald Trump is unwavering. Lots of people called the
ultimate MAGA bootlegger, right? Like Doug Ford was like, I think he said like, I'm MAGA. like he was like the #1 Trump fan in Canada, saying that he support everything that he did.
Yeah, you know, and he's been that's been his line. Like, don't worry. They call him Maple MAGA, and they call a lot of the conservatives Maple MAGA. And while people have expressed frustration with Trudeau, lots of people I know in Canada are like, okay, but the Trudeau NDP alliance is superior to the Conservatives. But the Conservatives have been telling people, look, we got this. Trump's our guy. We're, we have a plan. So then Trump jumps in though and starts attacking Canada and saying that, all of these kind of defamatory things about Canada. And now the Conservatives in Canada, like they look like they've been selling a bill of goods to the people. So now they've had to recalibrate their message to look tough against the United States. So now what's interesting is, the NDP and the Conservative Party, like as far apart as you can basically get. But now the NDP, Trudeau's Liberal Party, and the Conservative Party, by and large, at both the kind of federal level and the provincial level, are all now kind of saying similar things. Like here, Doug Ford is like there's almost now a race in Canada to who can be the toughest to fight back against the bullying of Canada by Trump. And so here Doug Ford's like, we're going to cut off your energy. We should plan to cut off the energy that flows from Canada into the United States, among other things. Watch this.
Let's make no mistake about it. As I mentioned to the Prime Minister, the rest of the premiers, we need to be ready. We need to be ready to fight. This fight is coming 100% on January the 20th or January 21st. But we'll use every tool in our toolbox, including cutting them off energy that we're sending down there. Folks, this is coming. It's not if it is, it's coming. And it's coming January 20th or 21st. And we need to be prepared. We need to stand as a country. We need to stand united as Canadians and work hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder with our colleagues across the country. And we're ready to do it. We'll use every tool in our toolbox to fight back. We can't sit back and roll over. We just won't as a country. We never have.
Okay. Why would you, as the United States, like that's your top ally? And for Trump within America's top, I'm not saying Doug Ford, I'm saying Canada. Within Canada, if you're Trump and you're being strategic about this too, your top ally within a country that's an ally is a guy like Doug Ford or Pierre Poilievre, like who's the main opposition leader in Parliament. These are the guys, and now you've alienated them. You have President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, talking about retaliatory tariffs. You've got President Macron of France and Prime Minister Donald Tusk of Poland mocking Trump's handshake. These are our allies. So imagine what it's like with Vladimir Putin. Imagine President Xi. Imagine, when you see Eric Trump going, okay, everybody, look at my new building in Jeddah. Look at my new building, everybody. I'm a smart businessman. Do we have just the Eric Trump post? What do you think MBS is saying? Like, oh my God, We now have a United States that just gets bought out. Just just stick that Trump name on that building that we were gonna build anyway. Kick the family $100 million, and they're just gonna leave us alone, and we can pursue all of our geopolitical goals. Like, just think about the dynamic already from strength with NATO allies under Biden to utter weakness, Brett.
Yeah, and I also want to emphasize the fact that when you look at the Saudis and what they're doing there with Eric Trump, and you see all this, you realize that this whole kind of billionaire group that comes together, it's not just limited to the United States. I just want to make sure that that's clear. The country's for sale right now to the highest bidder anywhere in the world. And that is one of the issues that we are currently facing. And it is so obvious who this government is for. It is so obvious who is running this government under Donald Trump. It, in fact, could not be clearer. And when you see these world leaders speaking out, like Doug Ford, like, dude, like literally, I pulled up some articles about Doug Ford from before the past few weeks. And here's just a couple headlines from the Washington Post in 2018. Doug Ford could bring Trumpism to Ontario. New York Times, 2018. Will Canada elect a tin pot Northern Trump? This is from a YouTube channel. MAGA hat wearing Doug Ford supporter is all cringe. That's something making fun of him. Here's Bloomberg. Canada's Donald Trump wins over Canada's Donald Trump. Well, how did that work out for you, Doug Ford? How did that work out for you? But, you know, it's good to see that there are people out there who are standing up to Trump like this. And I hope to see that sort of clarity in more of our leaders here. I think far too often these past few weeks, it has felt like the United States has not even like had an opposition party. It has felt like that a lot of these Democrats have simply rolled over. And this is a time where they need to be loud about their values. This is a time where they need to really be making their case. This is a time where they need to be listening to the American people and their concerns and say, listen, I hear you on healthcare, and here is our plan on how to move forward. Here's how I want to get healthcare to all Americans. Listen, I hear you on the housing crisis. Here's the Democratic plan. And they need to speak loudly about these plans and then have the Republicans oppose it. Have the Republicans say, now we don't want to give that to the people. We instead want to give our giveaways to the billionaires. Now we don't want to help housing. And in fact, we want to just help the billionaires to buy up more housing and use them as commodities and grow their wealth that way. We prefer it that way. Put these Republicans on the defense. I don't know why this is so hard. And I don't know why there are so many running away from this, or worse, rushing to kind of embrace Donald Trump and embrace the people around him. It's simply not what you have to do. And frankly, I do not believe personally it's what the American people are looking for. The American people are looking for fighters. The American people are looking for people who are going to stand by them and stand up for their values, stand up for the things that they are screaming about. The American people are being quite clear, in my opinion, about the things that they want. Now, are you going to answer the call? It's your time. Do it or don't do it. But I hope that you do it. I hope that you pick up on the message, because it's coming through loud and clear.
It's a really great point, Brett. It is so obvious to becoming an effective opposition party right now, with all of these billionaires flaunting their wealth, spiking the football in people's faces, bragging about the skyscrapers and sweetheart deals that foreign countries are giving them, when they're talking about cutting people's Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. And MAGA Republicans are talking about Trump austerity measures. They're out there talking about, we need to impose economic hardship, and then it'll get better. When they start talking about the Argentinian president, Milei, who has a 52% poverty rate in Argentina, and they use that as their shiny example, or Viktor Orban, where inflation was recently like 18% in the entire GDP of Hungary, where Orban is the authoritarian leader, is less than like an American corporation. Like when they're doing that, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just so simple that I'm missing the whole layers of complexity here, that why Democrats, or just human beings who want to be leaders, just can't step up and look at the American people
and lead
and say, The billionaires are coming for your health care. The billionaires are coming for your Social Security. The billionaires are coming for your Medicare. The billionaires are coming for your veterans benefits. The billionaires are coming for your health. The billionaires are coming for your family. They're going to spare nobody in their consumption of everything that you've worked hard for. And we need to channel our frustration peacefully to make sure that we have a system of checks to make sure that these billionaires don't run and conduct a rampage and pilfer over the American people. Our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, I think, put it succinctly, as he always does on MidasPlus.com. So check that out. Ron Filipkowski writes, "We have a peculiar historical event shaping up where the oligarch billionaire class is about to fleece this country while most of their supporters are working people who are convinced that they are on their side because they hate migrants and trans people." And if you watch Fox or right-wing media or corporate media, they push this message over and over and over. And it's because corporate media is run by corporation, which is run by billionaires. And as I've said, there is a class war, and Americans aren't even aware of it because they're not in it. It's a class sneak attack by the billionaires. Maybe not even a war, a sneak attack. And the billionaires are not satisfied by their billionaire status. They got to have hundreds of billions or trillions. They're in a race for trillions. Doesn't matter. 5 private jets aren't. There got to be 10 private jets. And they want to turn the government into billionaire welfare. It's what they want to do. And they're using a culture war as the subterfuge for the class war that they've initiated on the people. And the people are, the volleyball player from San Jose State. Outrageous. A San Jose State volleyball player. There's a transgender woman on the volleyball team. What am I going to do? The swimmer? Oh my God, there's a swimmer? I can't believe it. And people are so riled up over these things.
As Elon Musk's net worth skyrockets from 200 billion to 400 billion since the election. That's what's happening while they're complaining about the volleyball player or whatever it is.
Exactly. And they're freaking playing you for a fool. And they're taking away your education, which is why Donald Trump wants to get rid of the Department of Education so that you're not smart enough to see it. Why do you think they're attacking education? Why do you think they want to burn books? Why do you think, and by the way, they want to corporatize it too and make you fund the private schools of their rich kids while they're at it and make you subsidize that with your tax dollars and then buy Trump's bogus Bibles. Well, there's the distinction between the separation of church and state is so Trump can sell, and the Supreme Court getting rid of the Lemon test that normally had a separation of church and state, ultimately used by the Republicans so Trump could sell Bibles in Oklahoma and make a few more $1 million from the Oklahoma superintendent. Come on, people. Don't you see what's going on? But here's the thing. I'll leave you with this. We need a leader who just says that, and not once a week on Meet the Press or twice a weekend on the weekend shows. You gotta be loud every day on every freaking platform that there is. And you gotta convey it, and you gotta channel it, and you gotta push it every single day. It's what the people are craving right now is leadership. I see exploitation in what the Republicans are doing, but I see a lack of leadership right now by Democrats. Wake up. Someone rise to the top, lead the people to truth, to justice, to equality. We'll do our part here at the Midas Touch Network. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers. Share the Midas Touch Network with people that you know. Check out MidasPlus.com. Hopefully you like a lot of the work we do there. A lot of the stuff is free there, too. Some of the stuff isn't. A lot of the stuff is, though. MidasPlus.com. Check it out. patreon.com/Midas Touch. Check that out. And thank you so much for watching. Subscribe on audio podcast as well if you're not. That helps us. Subscribe on the audio podcast. Well, anyway, thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. We appreciate your support. We really do. Thank you to the moderators. We know you put in a lot of hard work as well. Great work. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on the show. Brett, take it away.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty.
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.